What is up, guys? We're back again to talk about one of our favorite My Hero games, and today we're switching things up a bit to talk about the 10 most wanted characters in My Hero Ultra Rumble. And these characters all offer a lot in terms of gameplay variety as well as representation, and you may even see characters you voted for specifically, so make sure you drop a like if you enjoy these kinds of videos and subscribe because we're closing in on 500 subs, and once we reach it I'll be doing a giveaway for crystal bundles to show my appreciation for you guys. So lock in, and with all that said, let's jump into today's top 10. I know there are literally dozens of characters players want to see come to this game, spanning from the anime to the movies and even some of the other My Hero games, but for the sake of simplicity and not having this video last an hour, today we'll only be counting characters who have the most realistic possibility of being added at some point based on data mine info and of course player demand online. So no movie characters, spin-off characters, or long shot characters in this list, but I do plan to make top 10s for those kinds of characters in the future, so don't worry. And last, I want to include a few honorable mentions who do have their support from the player base for one reason or another, but simply didn't beat out those in the top 10, starting with Muscular. Fans of the anime know him as the first real villain Deku had to face off against completely on his own, and they even had a rematch later down the line, but players have been asking not only for more villains to be added, but for Muscular specifically because he brings another close range brute to the game that should be able to tank a ton of damage. Right behind Muscular is another highly requested villain, and that's Kendo Rappa. It's not hard to see why players will want to see him added to the roster. He's known as one of the hardest hitting characters in the series, and his rapid punches look insane. If Muscular is an assault type, then Rappa would 100% be a strike, and hopefully they both can make the roster at some point. The last honorable mention goes to Fat Gum, another close range brawler who can not only tank damage but also dish it. His quirk lets him turn damage received into stored kinetic energy that he can later release to overwhelm his opponent, and that sounds like it would be one of the best special actions in the game. But moving on to the number 10 spot, we have Brava. I know she's typically shown to just be a support character for Gentle Criminal, but apparently quite a few Ultra Rumble players think she might be able to hold her own. Players have suggested that she could incorporate her hacking skills into her attacks somehow, and her quirk Love could be used to boost her teammates' damage output for a short time. I personally would prefer to see her stick to her role as Gentle's companion, but there is clear player demand to see her as a solo act, and there's even a slight bit of evidence in the data that suggests the devs may be planning to release her as a standalone character at some point, but only time will tell. Coming in at number 9 is Mei Hatsume. Surprisingly, Mei has quite the fan following of her own, and in the earlier seasons of the game, she had a decent amount of data in the files to suggest she was planned as a post-launch release. She's more well known for her insane inventions rather than her actual quirk, but that seems to be the appeal for players, and her various tech gadgets could potentially make her one of the best additions to the game. She has gear that gives her flight, ground mobility, and she's even been shown to use different gadgets for attacks like her net gun, and straight up throwing explosive kegs at people. The more I think about it, the more it makes sense to add a character like this to Ultra Rumble. In at number 8 is the little menace Mineta. Players are either all about Mineta or they're all about never seeing him in this game. There's no real in between, but even he has his supporters, and up until recently he was in the pipeline for upcoming characters, but like others on this list, he was bumped aside for more popular characters in the present, but that doesn't mean he won't be bouncing into Ultra Rumble at some point. His balls will likely be one of the most annoying things to deal with in the game, and with his small frame, he'll likely be difficult to hit while bouncing around the map, so I can see why players wouldn't be excited to see him on the roster, but I do think he'll genuinely be fun to play with just to troll people. And number 7 is Mina. You're likely noticing that a lot of the most wanted characters are females, and that's not by accident. Out of the current roster of 33 characters, not including skill sets, only 8 are female characters, with just 1 female villain, 1 female pro, and 6 students. So obviously players want to see that number go way up, and one of the most requested is always Mina. Her quirk Acid gives her a balanced combination of mobility, offense, and defense, and her natural athleticism will obviously make her one of the best options in the game, so it's not hard to see why she would be voted so high. She's somewhere in the release pipeline, but her fans may have to wait just a while longer for her, but hopefully she can skate her way into the game by the end of 2026. Moving on to number 6, we have an even more popular female character, and that's Jiro. Jiro fans were understandably pissed at the start of this season because they thought they were up next to get their favorite added to the roster, but unfortunately Jiro isn't the main character, so she too was sidelined in favor of other more popular characters. She'll likely be somewhat similar to Present Mike with her sound attacks, but she'll definitely stand out with her ability to locate enemies with her quirk, and Battle Royale players know that knowing exactly where enemies are on the map can change the game drastically, so Jiro will 100% be a welcome addition to the game whenever she makes it in. And now we're officially moving into the top 5, starting with the distinguished gentleman himself, Gentle Criminal. I believe hands down Gentle will be one of the most fun characters ever added to this game if he's done right. Having the ability to create platforms and barriers out of thin air just sounds like a cheat code, and being able to bounce between offense and defense at will should make him one of the harder matchups for a lot of characters. Not only is he one of the most requested characters since the game launch, but he's also one of the most requested villains for the game since there are currently only 9 present in the roster. He could ultimately be categorized as something other than a hero or a villain entirely, but regardless, players really want him in the game, and I think he could be arriving in the near future. Right ahead of Gentle is Mirko. My Hero fans have been begging for Mirko to be added to a My Hero game since the One's Justice games, and surprisingly enough, she'll be making her debut in the new All's Justice game dropping early next year, but Ultra Rumble players want her in this game. She can honestly work in any role for the most part, and she will definitely be one of the most mobile characters because of her quirk, but what most players are looking forward to is the sheer satisfaction from kicking any and everything they see moving. Despite having no healing abilities, she is one of the most durable characters in the series, and she doesn't stop fighting until you put her down. And players can't wait until they can chase down and kick all of the most annoying characters in the game with their favorite bunny girl. Rounding out the top 3 is the jet black hero Tokoyami. Just like Jiro fans, players who were hoping to see Tokoyami arrive for this year's anniversary were left disappointed, but thankfully he looks to still be a planned upcoming release for the game. He has one of the strongest quirks in the My Hero universe, and it only gets stronger in the dark, which would be a great mechanic to add to the game since they are currently working on the 4th map, so adding a highly requested character on a new map with a nighttime feature could do massive numbers for the game. But even on his own, Tokoyami and his quirk Dark Shadow will be a huge addition to the roster. His quirk gives him mobility, defense, and a ton of offense, with his only real weakness coming from large amounts of light that weaken Dark Shadow. So seeing how the dev team implements those mechanics into his kit will be interesting. Numbers 1 and 2 could easily trade spots depending on who you ask, but both are major standouts in the My Hero fandom, and while he's not the most popular character in the series, he is one of the most requested characters to be added to Ultra Rumble, and that's the hero killer Stain. When players are asking for more villains to be added, 9 times out of 10 they're talking about Stain. He's basically a ninja with the ability to completely immobilize enemies to set up huge damaging strikes and combos. He has a great mix of mobility and ranged attacks, as well as being able to get in close without much warning. We currently don't know when he could pop up in the game, but if I were a betting man, I would say early to mid 2026 seems like a safe bet. He honestly should have been in the game's base roster, or at the very least squeezed in before All For One or Overhaul. No disrespect to those characters or the players who main them, but he was one of the first major villains introduced in the series, and he's also had a huge impact on the series overall after his debut. So it's odd seeing the game come this far before having him be included, but development is a juggling act, and we don't know what internal plans they have to go by for character releases, but there are a lot of players hoping to see Stain arrive sooner rather than later. And coming in at the number 1 spot, most of you likely already guessed, but it is Lady Nagant. I truly believe players who have been begging for Nagant to be added to this game will genuinely regret it once she's here, but nevertheless, the demand has been very loud from the beginning. If you're not familiar with the character, I did a breakdown video for her that you can check out, but she's an insane sniper with a rifle for an arm and a second quirk that lets her walk on air. Fans want the ultimate shooter added to this battle royale, and with her ability to shoot enemies from insane range and even shoot bullets that curve to make sure she hits you, is going to be a nightmare for anyone on the other side of her scope. But I'm all for giving players what they want, and the people really want Lady Nagant in Ultra Rumble. Don't be surprised if you see the number of campers skyrocket once she's added. And if you've been waiting patiently for her to make her debut, you might not have to wait too much longer since she's had a fair amount of development in recent seasons and she could easily be a late 2025 or early 2026 edition. But those are the top 10 most requested characters for My Hero Ultra Rumble. Let me know what other top 10 videos you'd like to see since I'm planning to do a separate list for movie characters and villains. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and don't forget to subscribe because it definitely helps out the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.